In recent years, Uganda has witnessed a worrying surge in drug and substance abuse among adolescents, particularly within school settings. Reports from Ministry of Health and the Uganda Police indicate that students as young as 12 are being exposed to substances such as marijuana, alcohol, khat, tobacco, shisha, and prescription drugs like codeine-based cough syrups. The problem is no longer confined to urban areas. Rural areas are increasingly affected as well. Several factors contribute to this trend, including peer pressure, lack of parental supervision, and the glamorization of drug use through social media and music. According to the 2024 Uganda Police Crime Report, a total of 2,240 cases of narcotics and drugs were reported to the police within 2024, compared to 2,113 cases reported in 2023, giving a 6% increase in this crime category. The consequences are severe. Students involved in substance abuse are often struggling academically, face disciplinary actions, and develop long-term psychological and health problems. This growing public health concern has prompted calls for stronger preventive measures, better regulation, and increased community involvement to protect Uganda's future generation. With me is Mr. James Imani, a survivor, but also a social worker. Welcome, James.
Thank you so much, Vivian. I'm glad to be here.
How serious is this issue of drug and substance abuse in Uganda?
Okay, to me, according to my personal exposure, because I also speak in schools, and at the same time I mentor the youth and young people, so they are free to open up to me. The more that they continue to reach out to me, I realize the problem is so big. And also some of the young people are not free to open up to everybody else. So there are people struggling in silence. And this age group continues to go lower. You find someone who's already 10 years, at around 10 years, they're already addicted to something. And of course, when you speak about drugs, most people assume only cigarettes and marijuana, but now there are different other forms of drugs which are being introduced. We have things like tobacco, that Indian tobacco, it's sold in supermarkets openly. Things like Kuba and Mijaj. And these things seem light, but they have very dangerous effects.
Okay.
Personally, I used them. So now, those are the introductory drugs which I start with, and with time you continue upgrading. And at the same time, alcohol is also a drug. So many children have tasted alcohol.
Oh no.
Yes.
That really sounds very close.
Yes.
You know, when you're talking about the other substances, I was thinking, how can they be so easy to access?
Yes.
But then when you talk about alcohol,
Yes.
it is so close
Yes.
to most of us because we have relatives, we have siblings, we have parents who have been abusing alcohol. So that really, really sounds like it's with us.
Yes, it is.
Very close.
Yes.
Can you briefly share your personal story of how you managed to get off the drugs?
Yes.
What was life like when you were doing drugs?
Life was very fast, actually, and I began at 12 years. I began with alcohol, and that's also the danger. The exposure was at home. It was at home, but parents would not recognize this. It was more of an extended place. I learned it in Uganda because I was born in Kenya, but my parents are Ugandan. So when I moved here, the lifestyle was kind of different. And it was a big house and there was less supervision with many children. So some of the bad habits went undetected. So we used to have this curiosity because we'd see our the uncles and the people, whenever they drink, they get happy. And we see other people smoking. So we developed curiosity how that drink tastes. And I believe it also connects to part of the depression some of the children go through. You're looking for a certain form of happiness. So whenever we tried to access this alcohol, we would be denied. Until one day we landed on the key to the store where the alcohol was kept. That's how we started drinking. That thing started small, but it was a seed planted. Because now, after going to school, it's easier. Fast forward, I went through school drinking, thinking it's fun, and I think by around 15 I would drink a crate of a beer.
Oh, no.
I think I shouldn't mention the name of the company, but a beer. And that, imagine, is like senior 4. So when it reaches about senior 6, there now things are getting worse. But after reaching campus level, I started facing now the negative effects, where you fall into accidents. Some you cause them yourself, others come to you. Like I would cross a road when the car is coming, or I would jump over buildings, get injured. So I've gone through multiple surgeries.
Did you want to commit suicide?
Yeah, some I would want to commit suicide, or some my mind was not in position to tell what I'm doing is sensible or not. But I tried suicide 4 times. I've been in several accidents. I've had several surgeries. I've survived more than 5 mob justice things where you're burnt and lit on fire. And all these things are connected to the drug addiction. I've been in jail cells as well. Many are connected, either maybe you've drunk in a bar, slept there, maybe had violence.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, all those related things. Then hospitals. So you're either in jail, or you're in hospital, or sleeping in the streets. Sometimes you survive sexual abuse. You wake up when you're about to be abused in a way. From both genders nowadays, you can't be safe in any side. So all those things are things I went through, to coma, to being rejected at home where you live in the streets. So all those are things I went through. I've been to hospitals, of course. I've been to Beautifier Hospital under the alcohol drug unit. I've also been to, now I'm showing you where the recovery started. I've also been to Arukah House, Uganda. But there are other things that I believe worked together in combination for me to recover totally. But the first thing came from my now willingness to see change. And my change, I won't lie to you, I first said a prayer, then God brought the divine support that was necessary. So that's how I transformed over time.
So what were the main factors that were contributing to the rise, or for you to have been coming from one drug? Remember you told us that there are those that are sold in the supermarket.
Yes.
You know, Kuba. What was motivating you? What was the urge, the need for you to keep from one drug to another, you know, and changing the different kinds of things that you were, or substances that you were abusing? Yeah.
Now, after my analysis of this thing, I'll tell you that every person you see who's an addict to anything is an empty person. They are sad, they are depressed, they feel lost. Sometimes they even feel no sense of living. So what they do is to use the drug as a temporary shelter. It's like another world. Because when you go in that world, the things that seem impossible in reality seem to be possible. That's why even we fall in trouble. Because now you feel you can do anything. Yet in reality, sometimes you feel limited. So that's when you see someone being violent, jumping into cars, all those things, you feel now you can do something. But whenever you come back to reality, you feel sad. So addiction is not something that develops immediately. It's after every time you keep using, then you become dependent on that thing. So if you're sad, it tends to make you feel happy. Now the danger with this thing is that each time you continue using that substance, it no longer brings the original satisfaction. So you need to take it in higher doses. If it was beer, you need now to take more beers. But it reaches the time even the beer itself is not effective. In science, it's called dopamine. You're looking for a certain feeling. So now, if this beer doesn't work, you need another combination of another substance to give you the same feeling you got on the original time you drank. So each time you go deeper looking for that original feeling. So that's what leads you to using other things. And also you meet friends. As you drink, you meet friends. Each one has a variety of what they use. So they recommend and you try out. Yeah.
So have you met some students who are currently facing drug-related challenges?
Yes. Recently, personally, I've been on a school tour, and we did about 12 plus schools, and this was not even in Kampala. We did this time Chotera, Rakai districts, and before that I was in Mpigi. but the problem is actually countrywide. It's a countrywide issue, and we've spoken even in primary schools, where primary school kids open up to us, they are struggling with addiction. And another danger is that the focus has only been put on drug addiction, but now there are different things that are affecting as a drug and the addiction. For example, there is sex addiction as well. There is this social media addiction. There is gambling addiction, things under sports betting. People are even committing suicide because of these things. So everything to do with addiction, the youth are struggling generally with the problem of addiction. So drug addiction tends to stand out, but there are many other addictions. And the dangers with addiction is that they interconnect. So if I'm addicted to gambling, it's easy for me now to get addicted to alcohol. So they start slowly. Each addiction leads to another. It's actually called cross addiction. So that is the danger we have, and I feel like the children have no one to talk to. They are scared. Then some children come from certain prominent families, and these families know the child has a problem, but because they have to protect their reputation, they cover that. So this person has to suffer in silence because they can't go to hospital. If they go to hospital, they will say this child of this family is struggling. So they instead force you to say, stop drinking, or harass you, which makes things worse. So these things are actually, the younger ages are getting affected. I believe even by 9 years, some people have already started using substances.
Which is quite sad.
Yes, it is.
What are you telling these children, these youth and students when you meet them?
The first thing I do is I share my story, because I've also seen people transform by only me sharing my story. Because it's summary, but whenever I share the story in detail, people realize, you know what, it is possible to come out, and this one went even deeper than most of us. But if such a person could find a way out, maybe we can have the faith that it's possible for me. Then I use personal recommendations that I used, and I see them come out.
What kind of impact are you seeing on the students who are engaging in this substance abuse?
Yes, it is definitely negative. And now it is also very terrible because girls are also highly now addicted. So now the first problem is increase in sexual promiscuity, where now, and you might see a girl sleeping with so many men, but the problem is actually addiction. Because if she's addicted, let's say, to heroin, she must find a way to survive. Now that means she either steals or use whatever means she has in order to survive. So now in this world we live in, she can use her body. So men also use this thing to exploit girls because they know you're addicted. So, and that's how they even recruit people to prostitution. They make sure you're addicted to a drug, then after that, they tell you if you want a dose of a drug, you sleep with 4 men. Then you're given, not even money, you're given this kind of thing. So there's sexual immorality, there is increase in crime. These things you're seeing on the streets, the crime is increasing because of drugs. First of all, the drugs bring someone to get someone to have a certain heart of aggressiveness and courage. Secondly, they look for the money to survive. There has been family breakdown. There has been, these are things which are not told, but there has been serious health implications. For example, because of just using tobacco, I've lost about 7 teeth. And I stopped early. But hadn't I stopped early, I'd reach a time when my cheeks would swell, and the shape keeps changing the shape. The face keeps changing the shape. So it means it was starting to become cancerous. And there are people who have lost even the cheeks, like it opens up. These are things which are not shown in media, but they are happening. People are getting different kinds of cancers, throat cancers, lung cancers. These are all young people. Personally, by the time I was treated, one time I was in hospital, they found my lungs are damaged, the kidneys were damaged, the liver was damaged, and the brain was damaged. You see, so they had told me, had I continued a bit, the lungs had become cancerous. You see, so these are things happening. Now, if a kid uses it, and I'd only used tobacco for only 4 years for me to get those effects. Now, I know many people who are younger than me who started in P6, and now they are in about 10 years of use. So you can imagine the damage that has happened to their life. And even on the tobacco itself, they write the diseases which will be caused. and these tobaccos are sold from Asian countries. So there's a very big problem because the leadership in the country has to be aware of what is happening, otherwise they'll lose an entire generation.
You see, I don't want to lose you somewhere.
Yes.
But a bit deeply,
Yes.
because you're saying you're sharing fast and not going into that detail.
Yeah.
But now detailed. Can you explain to us what support systems were helpful to you during your recovery journey?
Okay. Actually, the shocking thing, most of the places I expected help, I did not get it there. And that's why many young people are struggling. When you go, you're instead stigmatized, you're judged. Actually, the first thing I did is run away from church, because the church I was in, after sharing my problem, it was instead spread around, and they don't want you to mingle with other children. And another thing I must tell you is that addiction is a cry for help. So a person who's wise and you see someone struggling with that, it means they are looking for help. Now, at first I had no single help. That's why I tried to commit suicide 4 times. I went, of course, to Beautifier. I got some bit of education. They teach you, they detoxify you. But of course, when I left, I relapsed. Same day, after 3 months. So the support system came, I'll say I'll connect to people who are in the same past. One of the people I would say is called Bernard. He's a director to an organization called Arukah House Uganda. He deals in helping addicts. But his approach is the same approach I had in mind, saying this kind of approach is what would work. The danger is that hospitals only treat this thing as medical. Then churches treat this thing as only spiritual. But there's something that misses in between. So if you combine these things, then add things like other kinds of mentorship and therapies, it's effective. So he came in in a time where I was building up, and it helped me to totally quit. But it started with a personal will to stop. So I stayed in my room for 10 months. My bedroom 10 months without getting out. I cut out from any environment. Then from there I said, now I need to connect to a purpose. So one other thing is that you will never recover from any problem until you find a purpose in life. So when I connected to him, he helped me to develop my purpose. Other organizations were churches. These ones came in. I would say like maybe Watoto Church. It helped me in discipling. There's also a Miracle Center Church. It played a role in hearing faith. I had never had faith before. You know, every voice around you, they tell you, you are useless, you'll never be anything. And actually what happens in an addict's mind is negative voices. So the first time I said, let me go to this church, I hear people saying, I was wondering where all these crowds, why do they go there? The first time I stepped there, the message that actually struck me is that you have very much great potential in you. You can be rich, you can be successful. People undermine these things, but they play a major role, motivation. So I picked that message because in my heart I believed there's potential, but no one had ever told me. So after picking that, Miracles, Watoto Church also helped in discipling. They allow anybody as they are. Then different Christian organizations like Global Leadership Summit, that one also helped to train us in leadership, how to be useful. Actually, that's why I got the skills to do what I do. So I can mention those 4 for now, but there are also other individuals who came in.
You see, you said that there is something in the middle.
Yes.
Between spirituality and medication.
Yes.
What's that?
It is now what I also formulated. It is mentorship. Here, spiritual tells you God can heal you. Then the medical also shows you can be fine, but using medicine. Now, there's a part where I have now the spiritual and I have the medical, but I lack certain knowledges and wisdoms, or even skill. Because now, like for Arukah, what that one did for me, it helped me to learn how to do work. They have work therapy. I won't lie to you, I was very lazy. I'd never even washed a cup until I went to Arukah. That is when I'm an adult. And I will tell you, most of the people you see who are addicts in rehabs come from very good to-do families. Because actually you can't afford rehab if you don't have money. It's very expensive. But when you look at all of them, majority don't know how to do hands-on work. They have a sense of entitlement. They're at home, they have house girls. So you expect life to be smooth. But when I reached there, I learned even how to mop. You have to cook for yourself through a struggle. So those are also life skills that I didn't have. So the practical skills are also important, but then I still noticed that we need to add something in mental empowerment. So that is now the part I do to add to this thing that is available. So most of the times I work in partnership with people who share the same kind of mindset.
So there is something you have mentioned
yes.
that is a bit interesting.
Yes.
When you say that you could not wash your own plates,
yes,
you went to Arukah just to learn how to wash.
I didn't go to learn how to wash.
Mop, you know, the life skills.
Yes.
How important are life skills
Thank you.
to a child?
Thank you so much.
Because they grow up into adults and
yes.
grow up with these skills.
Yes.
How important are life skills in averting
Thank you for that
drug
question.
or substance abuse?
That question is actually one of the biggest solutions to this problem. Number one, I see a very big problem with our education system, and it's making things worse. Probably now I hear there's a new curriculum, but to me I feel there's still something lacking somewhere. Now, most of the times, if you notice, we even have people who are graduated highly, but they're addicts, if you go like to rehabs. But it's because after they finish the degree, they found no other way out. The degree programs you to only seek for a job and a white collar thing, a salary. Remember, I did software engineering. But when you see the job market, also the competition is very high, factors are not favoring. So it leads to depression. That's what leads someone to drugs. But if you have these skills, actually these skills helped me more than the degree. So now, after I combined the degree, it helped me. But these skills were very important because I learned how to wash. And it taught me how to survive out there. So I encourage like a person who, even to prevent it, these kids have to be taught these things early. And I've seen many other youth who I help who are entitled at 50 years, they are still staying with their parent, and they can still call their parent and quarrel that the yaka is running low. You see, that means that's a mindset from a childhood. Parents are also part of the problem because it's also mindset. That's why I say mindset is the biggest. A parent who comes from a background of poverty feels the best way to fight poverty is for the kid never to taste how poverty feels like. Yet they are repeating the cycle because for them they suffered, and that's through that resilience and training they learned how to survive and make it. But now they're training a person who's not equipped in anything, who only lives a soft life. So this person, if the parent is not there, these are people who will spend all the money on the wheel that the father left and waste it. These are people who are always entitled, and they never have a mindset of self-initiative, like to be proactive and create ideas and opportunities. So they're more
what
consumers.
You're saying is that hardship creates invention.
Exactly.
So you end up inventing, and if you don't, you can actually.
There should be a balance somewhere. But now when I see, especially now, there are two worlds I've noticed in our community. There's a world of the very poor. There are places you reach, you will not believe you're in Uganda. Then there's the world of the very rich. Then actually there's a third one, the average. But now the challenge we have is that all of these people are addicts, but the causes are different. The one who's very poor is an addict because they are stressed. They can't go to school, they don't have the fees, and probably they are staying with a parent who's a downtrodden herself. Then average people, these are people now who are more into corporate life. They do it also as showbiz. It's a place of peer pressure. So those ones are there. Then the very rich are also depressed because they tend to have other problems like lack of purpose. There are other problems like which come in, let's say your parent now marries another woman, leaves your mother, so you have to go through stepmother, or you're forced to study. I have people I know who are forced by the father. They say you have to do law because in our entire clan we do law. Now, when you're forced to do something that is not in your will, you have to be depressed. So parents are putting too much pressure, society is putting too much pressure. Everywhere it's a certain expectation, a certain standard that a young person must fulfill, and the young person is not consulted. about what they think. We live in a society where young people are suppressed. Their voices are not being given chance to speak. So that's also part of the reasons they are increasing. They are becoming desperate. And most of these people you see walking on the streets can speak good English. Those mad people you see on the streets are graduates. So it means we need a certain form of platform or dialogue where young people are given opportunity.
What can the schools where these young people are, because you have talked about the parents and what they should do at home, empower these children with life skills, simple life skills. Teach your child how to wash clothes, teach your child how to wash dishes, teach your child to mop the house. Those are key life skills that teach someone ways of getting out of maybe trouble when they are finally adults. So now the parent has done that. How about the school and government? What should they do to curb this growing crisis?
Something I can top up briefly about parents. Most of the people you see who are spoiled, the parents were absent. Some are present physically, but emotionally they're absent. If you do not have time for your child, they have to get spoiled, because they will hear the advice from someone else. So some people have lacked a father figure. For me, for example, my parents have been present physically, but they do not know, they have never been there for me emotionally at all. So I have had to learn life my way. I've had to learn, imagine, to become a man by your own, no one cares about you. So you learn through mistakes. But you know, when you tell a child that this is wrong, no other voice will change that, because the parent has to be the first teacher. And they say, this is a research, if you do not have a child from the age of 1 to 7, you will never have them. Because the world is too fast. There are people planning for your children on social media. Everyone is fighting for their children's attention. So as a mother especially, you have to be there and also emphasize on the child their self-identity. Tell them they are important, because the world out there is tending to define people differently. That's why some boys now will say, I'm a girl. So you have to tell your child what they are. When they are young, you're beautiful, you're this. When they hear it from you, they get that form of confidence and they move in life with clarity. And we should care for one another. I've seen where a parent would not care and sell I used to buy beer at 13, but the one who used to sell it to me was a parent. So they do not care because me, I'm not their child. But if we had that social responsibility of caring about being your brother's keeper, we would solve so many of these problems. You see a girl on the street, you ask her, who are you? And right now, I want to know where you're going. That would help these people, for example, these girls who escape from schools, or you find a girl with a sugar daddy and no one cares, and you see the girl is almost half the age of a man. So government and also has to regulate these things like alcohol. They have to regulate. Then there are even other substances which come in illegally in the country. Those ones also have to be followed up. Then also these drugs like tobacco and mijaj, you have to find out how do they come in the country. Then also, by the part of the drug things, there are people using pharmaceutical drugs. It's not only the illicit. There are those who come and buy Panadol.
Even codeine. Yes,
and codeine, and they are used for wrong purposes. So all those things, they should even be like a prescription from a doctor before someone just takes a drug, because some of these drugs are being used wrongly. Then for teachers also need to be mentored just the same way as parents. And some of the teachers are the biggest problem because they tend to tease children at school. So we also have to add in things like co-curricular activities, develop talents and skills, and also nurture people with what they have. So that, I think, school can also design such programs. Then at home, the parents should support it, and the government should also support these things, because there are many people who may not have the opportunity to have jobs, but their skills can actually earn even the government a lot of money if they invest in it. Things like football, things like, let's say, even chess, and even innovations. People can create things. If they are empowered, then I believe all these people on the streets will be empty. Each addict you see is a very great mind. So that means that's a potential rich person, but they need love and they need to be supported in order to be what they can be.
The rise in drug and substance abuse among students in Ugandan schools is not just a health issue. It is a national crisis that threatens the future of our youth and the stability of our education system. As highlighted by James Imani, Tackling this challenge requires a united front involving families, schools, health professionals, policy makers, and the wider community. Only through early intervention, continuous education, and a supportive environment can we protect our children and steer them toward a healthier, more promising future. The time to act is now.
Mr. James Imani,
yes.
thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Vivian.